Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That's Eric over there.
Hello.
That's Vanessa over there.
Hello.
I'm Kelly. You guys, we are spoiled.
Okay. Go on.
I'm looking at the ratings for Ant-Man, Quantum Mania,
Uh-huh.
Oh, yes.
and, 47% on
Pretty
Rotten
low.
Tomatoes,
Whoa.
all sorts of bad reviews.
Oof.
And I'm thinking to myself, even 10 years ago, if a movie like that had come out in theaters in February,
Yeah.
it would have been the greatest gift we'd ever been given as a film watcher. And now it's just people bitching and complaining about this. We have way too many good things coming out, and a solid big budget fantasy adventure movie is not enough
Nope.
to make us happy in February.
February, yeah.
That's the worst year or the worst month for movies. And we is PU. Who farted?
I know. I was going to say, I was just happy to have a reason to go to the movie theater because, there just isn't. And there will be very soon. There's a bunch of great films coming out in March. But in February, it is normally a dead zone, which is why we were all gifted years ago that shining, amazing, beautiful film called Deadpool.
Oh,
Sure, yeah.
Which
Yeah.
came out for Valentine's Day, traditionally a weekend that no one would line their films up with.
Yeah.
And it did gangbusters. And we were like, oh my God, people actually want to see movies at the start of the year. It's crazy. So I don't know. I'm shocked. I'm completely shocked that people hate that movie that much. I mean, Thor sucked.
Oh, for
Thor
sure.
sucked. That should have a solid 47%. But this should be 70s, 80s. I don't know. It's fun.
Well, and even if it's not 70s, 80s, I just don't understand the hatred for it. A lot of people complaining about the CGI. It's very clear that Marvel/Disney has a overall budget,
Yeah.
and the big chunk of that was used on Wakanda Forever.
Oh, you mean like an annual
Yeah.
budget? kind of
Of
thing?
something like
Yeah.
that, where they're like, we can count on this many people recouping that money for us.
Yeah.
Whereas Ant-Man, maybe we don't have that kind of budget.
Yeah.
It was still fun.
It was so fun. And all the Ant-Man movies have been kind of smaller scale.
I don't get it.
But they've been, heist films. They've been, yes, they've had, shrinking and enlarging a human being, but it's usually small casts, limited locations. No.
Keep using that
Oh
word.
my God.
And it's got Paul Rudd.
It-
I mean, come on.
It's
Yeah.
Paul Rudd, it's really leaning in humor. And so this was a pretty big budget for that, I don't know, that series, I guess.
It makes me want to say, what did you expect, or what did you want
Right.
that you didn't get out of this movie?
The last, 4 Marvel movies have all been weird and sometimes truly awful.
Sure.
So out of what we've been seeing lately, I was like, hey, this was totally watchable. Fantastic.
I'm glad you agree. Speaking of totally watchable,
Mhm.
the new season of The Mandalorian started.
Oh, hey.
That's right.
You guys did not see it.
No,
Correct.
I remember it started, but then I didn't get a chance to see it.
Yeah, this was fine. It does make me think that maybe after the Book of Boba Fett, they had a meeting and they were like, okay, we're doing something wrong here. And I'm not sure if the answer is let's give them everything they love about Star Wars and not hide it at all. There's a monster attack right at the beginning of this, and then there's a outer space dogfight scene in an asteroid field, and all of this stuff going on. I was like, boy, I remember all of these scenes from various Star Wars movies that I liked, and I don't know if that's quite the answer, but I didn't hate this episode. I was like, okay, it looked amazing, and I am worried that they blew all their budget on this first episode.
Oh,
Hmm. I don't
Favreau
know.
came in and said, "Fine, like Boba Fett, I'll show you what you want."
It's so weird having watched Pedro on The Last of Us now,
Yeah.
and then hearing his voice in The Mandalorian. He's putting some kind of affectation onto it,
Yeah.
and he sounds different than he sounds in The Last of Us.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know. That's a little odd.
It's weird because he's everywhere right now,
Yes.
Yeah.
and seeing somebody who's whipping between different roles that they're similar in certain ways, but they're also, different. There is an accent. There is,
Yeah.
a different one is, in the near future on Earth. One is a space adventure in Star Wars land. So you're going to get different versions of a guy that is playing simultaneously in your TV. I think if you had a star on like the West Wing at the same time as a, Seinfeld show happening,
Sure.
at this coinciding together, you'd be like, man, it's really weird to watch, Jerry Seinfeld go from this to this. I don't really he's so serious in one and he's so
Why
like
is that
fun
the
in the
way?
other.
And
I'll say this. I didn't realize he'd been around for so long. Did you see
Pedro?
Sarah Michelle Gellar post that photo of him? He was on an episode of Buffy
Oh, was he?
as a high school student, and I was like, wow, I didn't realize he'd been around this
He's
long.
been a struggling actor for a long time. I mean, that's why he was in a local sci-fi film that I worked on.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he was not a big enough deal for us to not be able to get him. I mean, it was two kids' first feature film,
Yeah.
shooting in Washington in the middle of the woods with a bunch of other people under 30, in a cheap hotel. Like it was an incredible film, but we were all surprised it was an incredible film.
Right.
So, and I'm sure he was too. So I'm really happy for him but this fame, it feels so fast, so furious, and it's very deserved,
Yeah.
but
That's how it usually happens. Oh, I'm an overnight success after 10 years of working my ass off.
Yeah.
I saw an interview with him that made me respect him a lot too, where, it was a Total Access or one of those kind of trash
Mhm.
shows, and they hand him a phone and go, "Hey, read some thirst tweets about yourself." And he reads them, he goes, hands the phone back, says, "Thanks. Oh, you're not going to read my lip?" "No."
That's extremely good. I mean, I have to. You see him on something like SNL, and he is so lit up and excited, and you're like, this is a guy who has only dreamed of ever possibly, being famous enough to be on SNL, and now he's on SNL, and he's like, I'm fucking on SNL.
Yeah,
Like,
he was
there's
good too.
such a joy in
He was
that.
really good on it.
Yeah. He deserves it. He's a great actor, and I am so glad that we have space for him.
Nice.
So speaking of seasons of things that can pass you by without you realizing, was that tenuous? I have started watching a show that's been around for 4 seasons, and I am now on season 2 of it, and that is The Servant or Servant.
Do not know it.
Is that an M. Night?
It is an
series?
M. Night
Oh, yeah,
joint on Apple.
You're saying I should return? I think I watched like 2 or 3 episodes and
I don't know. I don't know if you should return to it or
okay.
not. It's weird, and it's like low key but consistently strange and keeps going places. I think by the end of season 1, there are some really powerful moments that make it feel worth it. But it's a strange little show, and I do not know where the fuck they're going ever with it. I'm constantly like, where are you gonna go with this, huh? Like, there's a giant crack in your basement, and there's black fluid coming out of it. I have no idea what you're gonna do with this.
Call Mulder.
It's and watching Rupert Grint, God, I hate his name, act. He's really spectacular in this show, and it's got the girl from 6 Feet Under who plays the young sister in it. It's got a guy who plays the husband who I've never heard of before, and everyone's it's a very small cast. It's really just one location. It's a strange setup, and you're just like, what the fuck are they doing constantly in a kind of interesting way.
How many seasons are there now?
4.
What?
Yeah.
Wow, what is this on? Is this on Apple?
Apple.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wouldn't say it's necessarily just an M. Night thing. I think he produced it, but it's written and created by a different guy. So
Hurry up and finish it so you can tell us if we should spend time on 4 seasons of the
Yeah,
M.
me
Night
too.
show.
I'll probably know in a week or two.
Oh,
I'm
well,
going
all
through
right.
it pretty quickly. So
That's a good sign. I came across I don't know, some weird Facebook page or something I'm part of, where somebody said that he thought the menu was fine, but it was exactly like this movie called from 1962 called The Exterminating Angel.
oh, interesting.
I'm like, okay, I'll check that out because I looked it up and it's by Luis Buñuel, who's probably best known for The Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie or The Obscure Object of Desire films.
Hmm.
And it's a Criterion release. I got to say, it's the first Criterion release where I've seen a boom mic in a shot.
Oh, no.
Oh,
It
they're
was
learning from Vinegar Syndrome.
It was a bunch of people talking in a kitchen, and it came up from underneath one of the tables. I'm like, hey, there's a boom. But no, this is not like the menu. Not remotely.
Oh,
The only
Oh.
similarity to it in the menu is that a whole bunch of rich people get trapped someplace.
Oh,
But in this one, you don't know why they're trapped. They don't know why they're trapped. Nobody is in charge of anything.
oh,
They get trapped in this room for they don't really. I don't remember if I don't remember there being a countdown, but it seems like it's weeks,
mm,
and a bunch of people are gathering outside that can't get in, and it's never clarified. The reason they're able to break it makes sense, but it's not shown why.
mhm.
And all this stuff. It's actually a pretty good film. It was really interesting to watch, and the filmmaker went in an interview wished he pushed it further to where the rich maybe like start literally eating themselves, but he didn't quite push it that way. But it's the comparison in the menu would be it's about a bunch of rich people getting shit on.
Hmm.
Beyond that, man, story wise, it's
feel like
not even
there's-
remotely similar.
There's a few films like that in the canon of films.
Yeah,
we're
it sounds
gonna
like this
start
guy's done
pulling-
a few of them too.
Yeah, that's always hard. You know, when somebody's seen a lot of films and they want to throw their 2 cents in, they're like, oh, well, Jurassic Park is really very derivative of Land of the Lost from 1930. What, you know, like, yeah, cool. Glad you saw some
Yes, they
films.
both have dinosaurs. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, yeah, well, you know, the animation is really, if you want to see something spectacular, the claymation stop motion, and that is
Yeah.
superb.
The big one was Avatar is just like Dances with Wolves. I'm like, yeah, and Dances with Wolves is like about a half dozen other films made before it. It's
And it's
Yeah.
all based
That's-
on Connor, whatever his butt is, the
well,
author.
it's just
So-
a man out of place in a new world discovering what's going on.
Right.
Oh, that is so rare.
Yeah, I'm like, how many stories is it that there are that exist? It's like 9 or 12 or something.
That's generous.
Like,
Well, I'm going to keep the Star Wars love going. I've been watching the new season of The Bad Batch. I don't know why I keep watching this. It's I think that it is fine. It's clearly for a younger audience, and there's enough Star Wars in it for me to go, oh, this is kind of fun.
Mhm.
But then the adult in me is like, why are we letting this little girl clone make the decisions for the entire team? I get that that's who this show is aimed at,
right.
but as an adult viewer, I want just a little more realism in my Star Wars stuff.
Mm.
You guys aren't watching the Bad Batch?
Yeah.
No.
No.
I watched some of the
Too young
first
for you.
season, but I don't remember if I finished it or not.
It's got a lot of pew pew in it, and I like
Yeah,
that in my
that's
Star
true.
Wars.
Mhm,
And it's
mhm.
got a lot of and stuff like that. So there's just enough for me to be.
What-
Are you
into it.
sure you're not on the child level to appreciate this film?
What age
The
is this
show?
aimed at, Kelly?
Listen, really, what I'm bothered is that it's a little girl and not a little boy who's making all the decisions. That's what it comes down to.
Oh, ouch.
Like, how are
this-
they supposed to get my attention?
This
Oh, I
adds
see.
up.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. Well, I've been watching the Star Trek equivalent, so I finally finished Prodigy,
Is
season
that the
1.
Star Wars, Star Trek animated?
It's a Star Trek animated on
That looks
Paramount.
Just like a Star Wars.
It looks and starts just like a Star Wars
Is the protagonist a
show.
little boy?
It is.
Oh, I'm in.
There you go.
It actually is. But it's funny because it starts off very Star Wars, like very like, man, I'm just watching an episode of freaking Clone Wars or some shit.
Yeah.
And it slowly becomes more and more Star Trek. And by the end, it's just Star Trek Voyager.
Oh,
And
really?
it's so fucking delightful.
Huh.
It is so, and like watching Kate Mulgrew get to be an actor again in something that I don't think she wants to make physical appearances, which sucks because I love her. But seeing her get to do her voice acting in this is incredible, and continue the stories of Janeway and bring in Chakotay and bring in some of these other. It's wild. It's so wild. And near the end, there are episodes where I'm like, this is like Strange New Worlds level. This is like, really good Star Trek
Dang.
level stuff. And there's a lot of episodes actually through season 1. So it's like, I think there's like 20 something. You have to really,
It's a network show.
it's like a network show. I think they had to artificially stop due to COVID at like 13 or something. And then they were like, we're just taking a break. We're back. So there's a lot of it. But it's, by the time you get to the end, you're just like, fuck, this show is awesome.
You're such a nerd.
I know. I keep telling people this. They don't believe me until I'm like, let me
Prove
tell you
it.
about Star Trek.
I've convinced I'm going to go back and check it out because
Yeah.
I stopped watching it somewhere. There's a lot of good Star Wars animation out there already that I haven't watched.
Yeah.
I need to watch a Star
It's-
Trek Star Wars.
It starts a little rough. It takes some time, but by the time you get to the end of that season, it's like, fuck, this is good. Anyway.
It also started off feeling like it was for 10-year-olds.
Yeah,
Which sort
it
of-
is still a kid's show. It will continue to be a kid's show. But that gleam, that gloss, did you ever watch the the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animation?
Some. There's been like, what, 50 different TFT series?
The Nickelodeon one that's good. Not the newest Nickelodeon one that sucks. The one that's slightly
The one
older.
that had the really kind of weird animation.
Yes,
Those,
super
I
weird
watched
animation.
some episodes. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, so it feels like that where it's for kids, but if you are a fan of the show, you're gonna get fan service and really interesting writing and really cool ideas and really fun jokes that start to come in and take over, and it feels like actually this show is for me.
The Warner Brothers effect, where when you're a kid, you watch it one way, you watch it as an adult and go, oh boy, I missed that show.
Yes, exactly.
Can I break in here for a minute, Eric?
Yeah.
Vanessa, you're aware that there's a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie being
I
produced
saw
right now
that.
by Seth Rogen. What are your thoughts on that? Looks like maybe I shouldn't have brought
The
this up.
expression is not encouraging.
I did not know this.
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
I am.
It's a sequel. Is it supposed to be like a sequel
I
to
have
the live
no
action
idea.
one?
I don't quite understand why he's got his fingers in
Yeah.
it. He's one of those guys that I liked a lot, and I'm starting to like less just because there's too much of him.
He's
I'm-
produced some good comic book stuff, though. I
He
mean,
has.
Preacher was freaking amazing.
Absolutely. And isn't The Boys?
The Boys, he's involved with that one. So, you may not need to be so hesitant about it.
I'm so tired of seeing like the turtles shat on so heavily where it's like, hey, there's this cool thing and I have an idea to make it even cooler. Like, what if like Michelangelo pretends he has like a human dick and he's in an elevator, right? And April's hot because she's Megan Fox. And he goes, oh, fuck, this shell is getting real tight, guys. What would that be like? That'd be
I
hilarious.
missed that episode.
Eric, I'm
That's-
so happy I asked this question.
That's from the Michael Bay films.
Oh, is
Sir.
it? Oh, yeah, I didn't want to
Yeah.
watch those.
Horrific. There's just a lot of taking of the turtles and trying to do twists that people who probably watched it and maybe enjoyed it as kids or were forced to make a film about it, I guess, are trying to put their stamp on it. I'm like, you know what? You don't need to do that. Don't worry.
I guess my thought on that would be that because there's no Seth Rogen stamp on Preacher or The Boys.
Right, that's
at
true.
all.
Because
So
I did not know
Maybe
that he was
he's
involved.
actually a fan and just goes,
He
God, I'm
probably
tired
is.
of this shit. I want to do a good,
I
you never know.
I refuse to put out hope
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I will not give for a second an ounce of hope that it will be good. But
Yeah.
if it turns out to be good, then great.
It could be a stoner pizza eater movie too. So who knows?
It could.
He did
It
say he was going to
could.
lean into the teenage part of the Teenage Mutant Ninja
I mean, that's
Turtles.
fine. That's what
I was
Nickelodeon
like,
did.
but teenagers are fucking assholes.
True. True. They're really confused and they're kind of whiny and kind of bitchy, and you're like, man, there's a reason why Splinter is being dad to you and not letting you out on the streets, guys.
I gotta say, that leans right into the movie I was going to talk about for my second film,
Oh,
The Bad News Bears, the original.
I have never seen this, but it has been referenced so many times.
Did you watch this because I just watched this, or did we
I did not-
independently
did not
just
know.
watch this? All right, let's
Oh,
talk about the
that's
Bad News Bears.
wild.
Welcome to the Bad News Bears podcast. That's
That's
Eric
right.
over there.
Thank you.
I'll see myself out.
It holds up so well, and at the same time could not be remotely made today. Was at least the children would be
A lot of dialogue that would have to be changed.
The insults thrown around from kid to kid would definitely be altered.
Walter Matthau.
Matthau's change would probably happen a little sooner,
It would have to.
but I really liked it. I thought it was really good.
I laughed my ass off.
Uh-huh.
I had so much fun with it. The last time I saw it was in the theater in 1977 or
Yeah.
something. And, well, of course you love it. You love those kind of sports movies
Yeah.
where the underdog comes from behind and all that stuff. And that's, God, it's so good that way. But man, the dialogue they have these kids saying
Yeah.
is no different than actual dialogue that kids of that age say,
Sure.
but it's still kind of hard to hear it.
Like, what did he just call the other kids? Holy shit! The guy from who grew up to play Freddy.
Oh. Right.
It's like he looked like he was going to grow up to be Matt Dillon or Matt D kind of
Yeah.
look. He did not.
Yeah. Grew up ugly. That's unfortunate.
But he's
Tatum
great
O'Neal,
in it. Tatum O'Neal's
great.
great in it. And Matthau, it's neat to see him play. You kind of forget how good he is
Yeah.
because he also played a whole lot of weird, goofy characters that are over the top.
Yeah.
And this feels like it's going to go there, but it never does. He is so even keel. Even when he gets mad as hell, he's still this cool, even keel character. It's really neat.
Well, because he's a bum, kind of. He's
Yeah.
a drunk, and
Yep.
that's why he's even keel.
He's drinking all the time.
Well, I hope you didn't make the same mistake I did. I enjoyed that movie so much, I decided to start the Bad News Bears Breaking Training.
Oh, I'm glad you said that because I seem to remember the sequels being really bad.
Do not.
Okay, cool.
Do
Oh,
not.
I'll
no.
avoid that.
Also, if you remember listening to our Crypticon episode on The Thing,
Mhm.
Bill Lancaster, who wrote The Thing, also wrote The Bad News Bears,
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
son of Burt Lancaster.
So if you're interested, it's good. It's on HBO Max
Uh-huh.
right now. And if you're, I don't know, really high or really drunk, so are the next two movies. But based on that, I'm just going to go find maybe I'll watch the Rocky franchise again or something.
You know, the remake with, now I can't remember him, Sling Blade and,
Oh,
Oh my God.
I can't
His
place
you know,
name
one
his
of the
just
most famous actors
disappeared.
over the last
Yeah.
30 years.
The remake is pretty good.
Oh, okay.
So-
That's a good personality fit
Yeah.
for what Walter Matthau did.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Okay. Well, how about we take a little break? And then when we come back, we're going to perform a little seance here
Ooh.
and talk
Ooh.
about seance films.
Billy Bob Thornton.
The seance is soon to begin. Everybody is gathered around the table, but there's one empty place. This is your chair. We'd like you to come and join us. Just call this number and be a part of the group. Isn't there somebody you'd like to talk to from your past? Call now and join Madame Ava's phone seance. Just $1.95 per minute for entertainment only. Under 18 get permission. There's a place at the table for you. Call now and speak to the past.
And we're back. Vanessa, this was your subgenre pick.
Yeah, I went with the concept of having a seance, hosting a seance in a film. There were quite a few movies I really, really wanted to see and check out. And then this one really snuck up on me. So I'm excited to talk about 2021 movie The Medium.
คนแถวนี้เขาก็นับถือผีมาดนแล้วเนาะเฮาก็สิเชื่อว่ามีผีอยู่ในทุกสิ่งทุกอย่างก็บ่แม่นแค่วิญญาณคนตายอย่างเดียวเนาะในบ้านน้ำปลาน้ำเขาน้ำต้นไม้ตามให้ตามหน้าเสียมีผีอยู่เบิดทุกอย่างเลย มิง มิง มึงเป็นไผมึงก็ลองถ่ายดูสิว่ากูคือใคร
As much as I can talk about it, unfortunately, the one thing I will say when you're choosing a foreign film that's recent and didn't have a huge wide release, there isn't a lot to say about
I've
some of the
never even heard
factoids.
of it.
Yeah, it's on Shudder and it's also available for purchase on things like Amazon and stuff like that, of course. Um, this is a Thai South Korean horror mockumentary. It has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 79% from critics and 73% from audience. Budget? Don't know. No clue. Box office?
Oh, I saw
7.23
that.
million. You've
I
seen
did
this?
see that one. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was gonna say I'm surprised if you guys hadn't seen it. It's written and directed by Ben Jong Pisan Pisanvankun. I'm gonna butcher this.
Oof, boy. Sorry in advance, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Ben Jong. Ben Jong wrote and directed this. Has 9 credits, including Shudder, Alone, and Hello Stranger. Co-written by Shantavit Denissevi, who worked with him on Hello Stranger and 5 other credits, and co-written by Na Hongjin with 6 credits, starring 4 actors who also have been in films I have never heard of, who are relatively unknown. One of them was in literally nothing before. The lead, Narlia Golman Kolpek, who plays Mink, has been in 7 things. She's really giving it her all in this film. I would not be surprised if she doesn't turn out to be a hit. But she's also a very attractive young girl, so probably not going to be doing a lot more films like this one. Also, a strong secondary lead with Sawani Utuma as Nim. She's been in 10 things, also very, very good. So this film it's strange. I don't know. I feel like horror documentaries nowadays, nothing feels like Blair Witch anymore. It just feels like a movie. It just feels like a flavor. The whole time I was not thinking I'm in a documentary.
Yeah, my
No.
memory of the film is not that it was a docudrama or a documentary style at all.
No, yeah, it does not feel like it, but it is. I mean, everything is seen through, handheld cameras and
Right.
interview style, but it just washes past you. The concept is the documentary crew travels to the Isan region of Thailand to interview Nim, a medium shaman, medium/shaman, this female who this particular goddess, Ba Yan, chooses only females to possess. So Nim has been chosen, and she's kind of a very local regional goddess. Nim was chosen after her sister, Noe, refused to accept the role and instead converted to Christianity. So there's a big rift in the family where the aunt had previously had the spirit and the grandmother had had the spirit, and it's this lineage thing. And it gets passed while the people are still alive. But the sister, like, rebuking it and turning towards a new religion is definitely not great. Uh, we start off by, seeing Nim in her element, working with people, helping them out. And they're like, yeah, so can you cure cancer? And she's like, oh, if you come to me to cure cancer, you will die. She has a really good sense of humor and logic behind it. She's like, I'm here to heal spiritual sickness. And that's, when there are spirits everywhere. And if a spirit comes in and makes you sick, that's where I can help.
It felt kind of like a film that sort of like having no concept of Catholicism and watching The Exorcist.
Right. Yes.
There's a lot that I feel
like outside
were
of.
missed.
Yes. It is hard to understand because they try very, very much at the start to say everything has a spirit. A blade of grass has a spirit. A tree has a spirit. A dog has a spirit. Spirits are everywhere and in everything. And it is so hard to retain that while you're watching it. Really, really tough. So Nim has to travel to the funeral of her brother-in-law, so the sister who refused this goddess. Her sister's family feels like it's almost been cursed by bad fortune. Weird. Their son, their son had died in a motorcycle accident, and the husband Wiraj died of a heart attack. Men in the family are often killed by misfortune, including the grandfather who died by suicide after being caught committing insurance fraud. And during the funeral, Nim notices that her sister's only surviving child, a young, beautiful girl named Mink, is acting very strangely. She almost seems to be possessed. She's very aggressive. She's starting fights with people. She says, "Oh, you called me a slut," during the middle of a funeral, gets up and slaps a dude. And it's like, well, I don't know. Did he? Are you just like an angry young girl or are you possessed? It's hard to tell. That's a consistent problem for about an hour of this film. But there are other moments where it is clear that she's being possessed. She becomes childlike. She is also very sexually perverse. She does extremely strange things. And the family begins to wonder if Mink is inheriting Bao Yun. So when each girl was being possessed by Bao Yun, they would start to have vaginal bleeding, abdominal pain. These are things that Mink is experiencing. However, it seems she's a bit darker. She gets fired when her boss discovers security footage of her taking multiple men into the workplace at night and fucking them. Multiple men. She also starts just picking at her gums and bleeding everywhere. She starts pushing children and throwing them against walls. Kelly, you would love this film. She's slapping elderly people. She just is a bad egg. She's a bad egg. Mink then tries to commit suicide, and the mother, who had been really pushing against this idea of Bao Yan taking over her daughter, then begs Nim to please do an acceptance ceremony so that her daughter can get past all these horrible things that are happening and just let the goddess take over her. Nim refuses. Doesn't quite explain why, walks off. So the mother then takes her to a local hack shaman and is like, all right, just finish up the job. Right as the ceremony is being finished, Nim runs in and is like, no, you do not want her to be accepting of whatever the fuck this is, but it is not Bao Yan. It is not. And so we learn, hey, you know what? Whatever is trying to get in this girl's body is not good, and it is not what you maybe think it might be. The rest of the film is sort of spent developing Mink's crazy animalistic possession. She really changes into this horror show monster. She does things, does many things.
It's pretty
It's rough.
intense. Yeah.
Fucking rough. Nim then disappears because she thinks actually the brother might be trying to possess her and taunt the family because of the way he died, and thinks that he's angry. And there is a really neat, very long scene of a seance where she's trying to communicate with the brother spirit and has all these disgusting, dirty things that they found in Mink's room, including like used condoms and like, just trash and just whatever, underwear, bloody, anyway. And it has it out in a field and is going from item to item to item to try and like bless it and try and get rid of this sickness. That does not work, and she realizes this is not the brother, it is something else, and it ends in a different ceremony where things get fucked up. Like, fucked up. This film was a tough watch.
Yeah.
I ended the film by being like, I feel awful. I feel really awful.
Mhm.
But there are themes in this that I think are extremely interesting about faith and about the gods you choose to follow and your faith in them. There's this question of kind of the sister choosing Christ over Ba Yun, but is that the right choice? And then she can't really put her faith in Ba Yun, but then other people start to lose their faith in Ba Yun. And there's this weird idea of like how you put your faith in the spirits around you and how that reflects back on you. And that was kind of interesting. But the sex shit and the other things, lots of eating people, there's a lot of stuff. That was a lot. Ugh.
Was there a lot, Vanessa?
I just want to shower and puke at the same time.
Is there something with a dog?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, there's a dog, there's a baby, you name it, it's fucking in here.
Ugh.
Yeah.
You want to see a man, a cameraman, but you kind of forget there again that it's a
Yeah,
mockumentary
that's
until the cameramen at the end, of course, get attacked, and like one of them gets
You'll have to watch the movie to find out.
yeah, he's crawling away, and his guts are just like he turns the camera, and his guts are just open, and he's crawling around. You're like, all right.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a tough film. There really isn't that much trivia, so there isn't a lot to talk about. Tagline, a story about a shamanism in Thailand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember it also had a nice, you touched on a little bit, a good, solid, is this something she's just making up
Yeah.
as opposed to is this really a spirit? It's a good movie.
It's a pretty good
It's a
movie.
hard watch and it's long, but
Yeah.
it's good.
It is surprisingly long. But yeah, there's a lot of it keeps a pace, and
Yeah.
there is a lot of interesting twists along the way. They do a lot of stuff with a little bit of money, and I think that there's this really little creepy things in there that they do really well. So like the girl's sitting in a car and they're driving her somewhere, and you can see just it's daylight out, and the reflection of her in the with her head against the window changes.
Mm.
And you're like, oof, fuck, oof. Just little things like that are just working for it. So feel free to check out this film. It was the Thai entry for Best International Feature Film for the 94th Academy Awards, but it was not nominated. Weird.
Did your husband say that you needed to watch this?
He did. He did.
Oh my.
He was like, I had a list of films. I was like, we need to watch these movies. You need to see these. And he was like, oh, The Medium. We should check this out. I was like, it wasn't high on my list. He's like, we should check it out. It's like, all right, you've won me over. And at the end of that film, I was not a
Punched
happy
him
camper.
in the arm.
Oh, I was such an ass at the end of this movie. I was like, I'm so
This
unhappy.
was not Wheels on Meals.
This is wildly different. Yeah, he was like, I don't know how to make this better. It's like 2 a.m.
Let's go to bed. Just go to bed.
Yeah,
Okay, well, I will go next. I'm putting 10 minutes on the timer.
excellent.
And the film I chose for my seance film is called Demonic.
There are a lot of theories about how to open these gates between our world and the underworld. The trick is finding them. Everybody join hands. Are there any spirits present? Show yourself to us.
Oh my God. What? Just don't move. What?
I got homicide here at the Livingston House. I'm Detective Lewis. This is Dr. Klein.
Why don't you walk me through what you remember?
They were hunting ghosts.
Is that what they were here for?
Trying to capture spirits on film.
about 25 years ago was an incident.
I think they call it a mass murder.
Who took your friends, John?
It was the house.
You guys came to do a seance.
What is this?
It was used as a messenger in the old world between the devil and his followers.
Is that blood?
Where is it coming from?
It's like she's resetting.
She's not resetting. She's pointing.
What's she pointing at, John?
Us.
People out there could be victims, could be killers.
Do you really expect me to believe that?
I'm telling you, it wasn't human.
I think you killed him, John.
Without looking, can you tell me what's behind you? There's a tear in the wallpaper. Underneath it is a drawing of a little girl. There's something else. There's a woman behind Jules.
It is from 2015. Budget of $3 million, box office of $4.5 million. No Rotten Tomato critics, but the, oh wait, no, there's 33%, 33 big percent.
Ooh.
Audience, 22%.
I'm on such a roller coaster already.
Directed by Will Cannon, who has 9 credits, including Brotherhood, Youngster, and Down South. It is written and directed, or I mean, he also was one of the writers on it. He co-wrote it with Doug Simon, who wrote Brotherhood, Breathe, Children of the Roses.
Weird.
The only name that's really of interest here is it was produced by James Wan.
Oh, okay.
It stars Maria Bello, who has 68 credits, including Lights Out, A History of Violence, which we all loved, and Dustin Milligan, who has 62 credits. He was in Mac and Rita, The People We Hate at the Wedding, which sounds like a movie I should see, and 43 episodes of Schitt's Creek, where he played Ted Mullins.
Oh, shit. He's great in that.
Okay. He's fine in this. This is not a very good movie, but it starts off really good.
Spoiler alert.
So it starts off really strong, and as it goes, it becomes a mix of found footage and crime procedural in real time. So we start with our cop, Frank Grillo, of course, in a shitty corner store. He's buying flowers and a bad bottle of wine when he gets the call to check out a disturbance at an abandoned and locked up house with a creepy past. So he has to call off his date, and he goes up to the house, and he discovers something quite bad has happened here. He finds a body in the kitchen right off the bat. And then as he goes around the house, he finds another body and then another body. It kind of looks like what you would imagine a Saturday the 14th at Crystal Lake must look like. Just body after murdered body, one without a head, one split in half, and that kind of shit. And he finds this last body in an upstairs bedroom, a young dude. And as he's calling in that there's nobody alive in here, the kid lurches awake. He's still alive. And Frank grabs him and drags him downstairs so he can find out what happened. So then it gets a little shaky, but I really appreciate what they're trying to do with this. The house becomes a huge crime scene with cops all over it. This is all happening in the same, minutes later, right?
Wow.
And the survivor is taken to a big tent that they've set up outside to interrogate him. A police psychiatrist is brought in, and this is Maria Bello, who also turns out to have been Grillo's date for the night. They're both cops, maybe married, I can't remember. Not important. Also, the investigators are now combing the house and everything. They find a video camera inside the house. They take that to another tent where a couple of cops start poring over the footage. And so the story is now being told to us through that footage and the interrogation of the survivor, but also Grillo, who's trying to detect. He's detectiving all around.
This sounds fun.
It's a cool setup. And as we get into this, I'm like, oh, how have I never heard of this movie? Well, let me continue.
Oh, God.
The idea is really neat, but it's too complicated for the budget. Grillo and Bello are really good, but the writing is a little shaky. And in the end, the filmmakers really pissed me off that they had the balls to try and do this idea without the right amount of money. So we find out a little bit of history of the house. A group of teenagers performed a satanic ritual in the house in the 1980s, causing one of the teens to murder the 4 others, and then many years later, she commits suicide. And it turns out that the survivor of this murder spree that we're trying to figure out is the son of the woman who killed herself after the murder spree in the 80s. And he was at the house with the other kids who are ghost hunters, kind of. So through Maria interrogating the kid, we get the questions, and then it jumps over to the cops looking through the video, and we start seeing the answers to these questions. And it's kind of neat because the kid is so traumatized, he can't exactly remember what happened. So he's being asked questions, I don't know. And then we see, oh, bad stuff is happening. We also find out that we found 4 bodies, but there is a 5th and 6th person on the footage. And one of them is the guy who apparently killed everyone. And the other is the survivor that they're interrogating. It's his girlfriend, who then we find out is 10 weeks pregnant. And neither those 2 people are anywhere to be found. So Grillo now is on the hunt for the killer, who he thinks must have the girl with him. And all these plot points are laid out through the footage. In the footage, the kids find a huge pentagram under a rug in the living room. This must have been where the original satanic ritual from the 80s was performed. And these kids, who have clearly never seen a horror film, decide that they should set up a seance around this pentagram.
Oh, no.
Which they do.
Oh,
and then everything goes to shit.
Oh.
There is a painting that just bursts into flame on the wall. There's people being thrown across the room. And when the survivor tells the ghost hunters they should probably get out of here, they respond with, what do you think? This is the kind of footage we've been searching our entire lives for.
Of course.
Keep in mind, not one of these kids is older than 23. So
Perspective is a little shifty when you're young.
Exactly. It starts to fall apart mainly because it's just boring and rote and nothing we haven't seen before. So, I'm just getting more and more frustrated by this neat idea that is being blown. You guys, is the last man really the killer, or has our survivor been possessed by a demon and is the actual perpetrator of all the events we've been watching?
I would have just assumed.
Will Grillo and Bello stop the demon just before his plans would allow him to be loosed upon the world?
Will you care by the time you're there?
Will his 10-week pregnant girlfriend be found safe, and then we'll see a cheesy baby demon hand pushing out from the inside of her belly?
Oh, my God.
You could watch this movie to find out, or you could realize these are very specific questions I'm asking, and the answers are probably well within your grasp right now.
Oh, no. Oh.
I have some trivia. Tagline, every house has its secrets. Makes no sense in the context of this film.
Okay.
The poster is a picture of a house. It says demonic, and then every house has a secret. But that's not really what this movie is about.
I just feel like everyone knows that this house is not a good place.
Right. Eric, you'll like this. I guess I don't have a lot of trivia. I have one piece of trivia. Dustin Milligan, the Schitt's Creek guy, part of another ghost hunting team. In season 3, episode 13 of Supernatural, he played the ill-fated Alan Corbett from Ghostfacers.
Oh, shit. Ghostfacers was wonderfully terrible.
Yes.
Love those guys.
The film premiered in Brazil under the title A Casa dos Mortos, which translates as The House of the Dead, and in Turkey as Satani Rular, which means satanic spirits. And in America, the most generic title ever, demonic. So that was my movie. I didn't like this movie. But there's something there that makes me want to attempt a movie like this. Even though I've given up on screenwriting completely.
Oh, sure.
I'm like, this is not a bad idea. They did not have the budget for it. $3 million is really ballsy to try and pull this off.
Yeah.
And, they did $4.5 million. I don't know if you're in that small of a budget, if 4.5 is enough to kind of give you a chance to do something else. But this guy, Will Cannon, I think he's got one film coming up. This was 2015, so this was already 8 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there you go. I would say avoid this film.
That's too bad. It does sound like it has a great setup. It does remind me of I can't remember the title of the film that I talked about previously, where there's like a seaside town that gets attacked by a
The Fog?
no. Oh, I
Never heard of
wish.
it.
By like a parasite in the water.
Oh,
The Bay?
The Bay, yeah, where they're flipping between the footage and people talking, and it works. It's a good structure.
You know, I'm turning off this timer before it goes off, or I'm making it go off right now.
There we go.
But I want to kind of double down on what you just said there. There is, we've been hit with so much found footage that we all kind of know what it is now.
Yeah.
So there's no real reason for the shitty part of those where we have to kind of justify a person continuing to film while they're running for their lives or something like that. We could switch back and forth between real film and found footage, right? And nobody would give a fuck.
No one would give a fuck. Or what you can also do is, I love when people are like, okay, and then there's the CCTV camera over here.
Sure.
Oh,
And then there's,
kinda like
like somebody's
searching.
webcam. Yeah, you can use different camera, footage when you're doing an investigation.
Yeah.
And so we can flip between those narratives. There's all kinds of things we can do.
Yeah, I just think that, you guys know I'm kind of down on the found footage thing anyway.
Yeah.
But I get that it works for what it's doing. And then we're all smart enough to realize, we needed to see something outside of the found footage for the story to continue. And they really tried to do this very much in this film. Just maybe they didn't have the experience to really pull it off.
Well, it's kind of like your movie, The Medium, where I kind of forgot that it was more or less a found footage movie wrapped in a docudrama, but they didn't make it about getting the footage.
No, there's
So-
nothing about like, and the footage was found, and now you're cursed. And, it was just, this is the movie you're watching.
Yeah.
This is the documentary they were making. They were following this lady, and this is the lady. And you get so wrapped up in their like family situation, you just forget completely.
Quit trying to make me think that I need to watch this movie. It sounds very depressing.
You don't have to
It's-
watch this film.
It's good, but
Eat a lot of candy after if you're gonna.
Eric,
My
I'm
only
put-
recommendation.
I'm putting 10 minutes on the buzzer, Eric.
alrighty. I'm talking about a Seance movie.
Shocking.
This is one that's been on my I should watch this damn movie list for a long, long time.
Mhm.
And that would be 1971's Let's Scare Jessica to Death.
Let's have a seance. Why not? Don't you believe in spirits? Nothing's ever completely dead. I'm calling on the spirits of everyone who ever died in this house. If you're present, give us a sign. Give us a sign. All the dead, come to us. I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
Why have you been following me? What do you want?
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
So Rotten Tomatoes has an interesting score. Critics at 36, which seems incredibly low.
Yeah.
And 50 from the crowd, which I kind of see because it's sort of experimental. Budget at 250,000. Opening weekend, it did 48,000. But if you want to watch it, this is out there all over the place. You can rent it on several different platforms. Directed by John D. Hancock. Hey, I get a name that's easy to pronounce.
Yeah.
He did Bang the Drum Slowly, California Dreaming, and 5 episodes of the 80s Twilight Zone.
Oh.
This was his first feature, though. He also is the writer on it, along with Lee Coucham, who did the movie The Alfred Hitchcock Hour, Blood of the Iron Maiden, Sanford and Son, ABC After School Special, and anybody of the right age now has the Sanford and Son theme going in their head.
Dun, 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 dun.
That's the one. And Sheridan LaFau, who is the writer of a book called Carmilla, which is the first, probably the first story of lesbian vampirism published in the English language. So this book has like tons of movies are based on this book, a 60 episode series called Carmilla. So it's in tons of things. So as I read along, go, oh, this isn't actually, he wouldn't write on this. It's just the first movie based on that book. Starring Zora Lampert, who was in Splendor in the Grass and the TV show Serpico. I haven't seen it long enough to say for sure, but I'm remembering the underrated Teachers movie from the 80s, Exorcist 3, and tons of TV. Barton Heyman, who was in The Exorcist, The Happy Hooker, Cruising, The Secret of My Success, and Dead Man Walking. Kevin O'Connor from The Brinks Job, It's Alive 3, Island of the Alive, a not classic. Gretchen Corbett, who's in 33 episodes of The Rockford Files and 2 episodes of Rockfile movies. The recent film Peg, Portlandia, Jaws of Satan, and also tons of TV. So the movie kind of opens with, if you've ever seen anything on this film printed anywhere in any magazine, you have seen this opening shot. It's used everything. So it's like, oh, yep, that's what I'm watching. The lead lady, Jessica, has just gotten out of the hospital, a mental hospital, and they never really explain what she was in for. They make reference to it a few times, like, are you relapsing? But they never really say, did you have schizophrenia? Did you have what she was being treated for? So who knows? What makes this movie beyond anything else is the sound design. It is creepy as hell. And I'm glad I watched it on with my headphones. I feel completely unnerved and nothing is going on. And it works so well. They're approaching the final destination. They're getting on a ferry to go over to an island. You know what that's like.
I do.
And I'm like, why am I creeped out? So it's very cool. To say the atmosphere is thick and the movie is sort of a massive understatement. 10 minutes in, and I kind of feel like I am all in for loving this movie. Didn't quite go all the way to the end, that extreme, but I did enjoy it. The acting is definitely low budget 70s, but overall it works. There's a few strange movie points to it, like this group of 3 people drive around in a hearse for whatever reason. That's their mode of transportation. And Jessica goes off and she takes etchings of gravestones, hangs them in her bedroom. Large ones too. They're like the size of movie posters. They're huge. And then they seem a little taken aback by the city people, the town folk treating them a little weird. It goes back and forth, but seeming like they're a little offended by being treated this way and messing with the town people at the same time. They go to their new house and there's a woman there. And, they say, hey, stay for dinner. Why don't you continue to live here? And squatting here for a while. You look exactly like this woman in this mirror up here, says no one in the movie. But eventually at some point, I think someone says, you look like so-and-so who used to live in that place long ago. I'm not going to tell you exactly what these people are that are being representative, because it's slowly given away, and it's actually not blasted out. It's suggested more than it is said in the end. But it's a slow burn film, man. It moves at a strange pace. Very little happens. But the acting, especially by Jessica, and the sound design keep it moving. The Seance is, although it's part of all the write-ups, it's like 2 minutes. They did a Seance. It's a complete failure. Nothing is like, well, that was no fun. All right, let's go to bed. And it has Jessica's mind thoughts go on a lot. And it sounds oddly like Dune. The delivery of the lines has that sort of Dune mystery. My husband's very attracted to her. he wants to sleep with her. Like, yeah, well, yeah. Everybody's figured that out, but your husband's being a dick. They find what somebody calls they're going through a graveyard. They pick up this little animal. It's like, what is that? It's a mole. And they show a picture of it. It's a mouse.
Oh, you guys.
It's obviously a mouse. And they do something horrible to the little mouse, which luckily is basically off screen, just like, it's all mystery and buildup. It's all what's going on. By the end of the movie, I'm going, that title makes no sense. Because I don't know who was getting together to scare her to death. But there really wasn't. It's just the circumstances of the movie. Everything that was happening. All the people living in the house, except for the person they found there, were getting freaked out. And
The filmmaker is telling the audience, come on, let's all get in on this.
I always thought it was a film about bullying, so my eyes are wide open.
that's what I figured too. Is like when it starts up and it's a bunch of people coming from the big city, moving into the small town, I'm going, oh, I see.
Right.
Nope, that ain't what happened at all.
Wow.
But I think it deserves its status as this weird cult classic. It's well done. The creep factor is off the hook just because the sound design is so damn good. Taglines. Something is after Jessica. Something very cold, very wet, and very dead.
No.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, that's pretty fun.
That is a great 70s.
Very dead or mostly dead?
Watch to find out. Leave your insanity at the door.
Whoa, wait, what?
What?
Do you mean leave your
what?
sanity?
On the first night the film crew arrived at the farmhouse location, the whole thing was filled with this weird eerie fog. So they broke out all the cameras and shot all kinds of B-roll stuff and used it throughout the whole movie.
That's cool.
Like smart thinking. This is one of Stephen King's favorite horror films. Sometimes it's hard to go, is it really? Because he says that a lot.
He likes everything.
The hearse they used was actually used for cast and crew transport as well, because it's fairly low budget. It was a 1963 Cadillac funeral coach. The composer, Orville Stober, was paid with a new guitar for writing and performing the music for the film.
That's so good.
It's like, take what you can get. One of the main themes that people have gotten out of the movie, whether the filmmakers never, I couldn't find where he verified this was right, but it was the idea of the decline of the counterculture being destroyed, because the people coming into the town are definitely hippie style. I mean, the one guy brings his bass, not guitar, his stand-up bass, and plays guitar with the lady they find in the house. All the people in the town are like, well, by the way we seem to look now versus what people look like at our age then, they're probably all like 45,
Right.
but they look like they're 70 or something. Let's see, a couple other interesting things here. The Chicago Films Critic Association put this as the 87th scariest film ever made, while the London's Time Out magazine ranked it the 86th scariest film of all time.
Man, I don't know who to go with on that.
In another 10 years, it's going to be number one.
Ooh.
Whoa. But I'm glad I watched it. It's been, like I said, it's been on my list forever as a film I want to watch.
I haven't seen this in like 40 years, and as you were describing it, I was like, boy, I don't remember much of this movie at all, but I do remember that the only reason I watched it was because Stephen King wrote about it in Danse Macabre.
Yeah.
So
that's probably where I read about it too, and it's very Lynchian. There's a lot of, I could have no problem imagining David Lynch watch this and go, this is an interesting way to make a movie, because it's not structured, it's just atmospheric, but it just does the atmosphere so well.
is this streaming somewhere, or did you rent
Yeah,
this?
it's on rent at a whole bunch of different places.
Okay.
So you said the director was John Hancock?
Yeah.
Was that a pseudonym name, or was that actually his name? Is that actually the
Nothing I
name?
found said that it was a.
Okay.
Why?
Because just put your old John Hancock here.
Oh.
Well, sure, but
That was a guy's real
There's
name
7
too.
billion people on the planet and only a certain amount of names, Vanessa.
I know, but I'm just saying if you wanted a pseudonym for a director or writer name, that sure could be a one. I was like, did he direct those episodes? Or are those just bad episodes?
I wish I'd thought of that because I would have looked it up, but it did not occur to me.
That's all right.
It is John D. Hancock, so
I mean, just saying.
Man. Okay. Well, very cool subject, Vanessa. I wish I had picked a classic that I knew I would love, like The Haunting or Hell House or something like that. Instead, I tried something new and I got burned again.
Yeah, I'm happy I picked something weird, but I'm also very sad I didn't go with the classic.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, you guys, we're doing something different for my pick.
Oh.
Yes.
Next week, I watched a movie that has really stuck with me, and I'm going to make you guys watch it, and then I'm going to make you guys discuss it with me. So, and I want everybody who's listening to this to know that we're going to spoil the hell out of it and everything. So if you want to watch this movie, it is called History of the Occult. It's on Screenbox for free, or you can rent it on Amazon.
You can also, Hoopla, the library rental service, has it.
Yes. Take advantage of that. It's free that way. And I can't wait to hear your guys' thoughts on this film.
Cool.
But
Can't wait to check it out.
For now, this is the part where we thank everybody for liking and sharing posts, for participating in the value for value model, for sending messages or reaching out via the Strange Eons radio hotline, which is 253-237-4266.
I will also put out there a little bit because I've noticed that we've gotten a couple DMs and sometimes we're slow to respond to DMs. If you feel free to send another one going, yo, jackasses, respond. We'll get to you.
Sure, yeah. Aim that jackass squarely at Eric. I don't read your DMs.
But I will also say thank you to some of our fans. I know that Danny has been sending me, listeners. Thank you. Danny has been sending me random memes that always seem to show up right when I'm having a really horrible bad day, and they always make me smile. So thank you for sending those over.
Nice.
They're perfectly timed somehow.
So. Danny is the man, and so is Ron, so is Bob.
Yep.
I've been Micah, whatever. I've been going back and forth with Mike DeBronzo about History of the Occult, so I know he's very excited. He was the one who gave me the idea because we were talking about it. He's like, you guys should just devote an entire episode about this. And I was like, you got it. So that's what we'll be doing next week. And that's it for the show. Just a banger today.
Let's see if we can conjure up something interesting out of it.
Ooh.
All right, guys, we'll see you in 7 short days. We are talking History of the Occult. Transportation and other considerations for Strange Eons Radio produced by Pan Am Airlines. When you think of traveling, think of Pan Am. You can't beat the experience. Guests of Strange Eons Radio stay at Econo Lodge Everett. It's an easy stop on the road, if you know what we mean. Strange Eons Radio is recorded live in front of a studio audience. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a positive review on your favorite podcast app. Sit, Ubu, sit.
Weird and sometimes truly awful. So out of what we've been seeing lately, I was like, hey, this was totally watchable.